ever. As you can tell, we're still working out the kinks on a few things. The microphone hates it. You can turn it down a little bit.
The microphone on the stand is so far.
Is everyone still with me? Just turn me down a little bit. There we go. Well, I really want to get away from the speaker, so I'm going to go over here. Anyway, so we're going to open up with some music. So to the band.
Yes, please. Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You want to be where you can see drums are all the same. You want to be where everybody knows your name. Finding a place to belong today can seem a losing game. Nowhere going like going in college, it's never quite the same. Let all your friends move away. Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You want to be where you can see drums are all the same. You want to be where everybody knows your name.
So, we wanted to start today off with a little bit of an icebreaker. But first of all, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Matt McCrory, and I am one of the Sunday Assembly leadership team, and which really just means I showed up and said, hey, I want to do something. So it doesn't mean I know anything about what we're doing, but a bunch of us came together and said, hey, let's create a community, and so here we are. And Nancy, you want to lead us in this little icebreaker?
Today's theme is about play and animals and good stuff. So I want you to introduce yourself to 3 other people, and I want you to tell them. And I want you to tell them your favorite. Oh, it's not on.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right, I'm sorry. Anyway, tell the other person or the other people your favorite animal and what game your favorite animal would be really good at. So, you know, if it was a giraffe, they maybe would be good at playing basketball. Who knows? So, go grab 3 other people just real quick. Animal and what game they'd be good at.
So I'm going to say
I hate to break up this awesome conversation, so don't. Anybody got one silly one they want to share? Nope. Oh, yes.
My favorite animal would be a platypus, and it would be very good at handball. Only it would call it bill ball.
All right, thank you very much.
Well, that was a little fun activity, so hopefully you got to meet a couple new people that you haven't met before. And we got a couple more songs we're going to sing. And so, give it up for the Sunday Assembly Band.
Stand up.
Friend.
Assembly Band. So I just want to let you guys know a little bit about Sunday Assembly. If you're just here because you saw us on Meetup or on Facebook, Sunday Assembly comes out of London, and it's a couple of comedians, Sanderson and Pippa, probably just sitting at a bar drinking and being like, they were on their way to the gig. Thanks, David. No, they actually were. They were on their way to a comedy show. And they're like, wouldn't it be great? And Sanderson has never been to anything like church or anything before. He's like, this would be great if we just got a bunch of people together and we sang some songs and we had fun. And then Pippa's like, you mean like church? and Pippa had grown up in church, but she decided that, that really wasn't for me. The religious thing wasn't for me. But together they decided, let's do this thing. And I actually had the fortunate opportunity a few weeks ago to actually talk to Sanderson over Skype while he was in London. So we had to arrange my lunchtime schedule with his end of day, and it was just kind of one of those crazy things. And they're just getting going. They started this a year ago, and they're going to be launching in 100 cities in September. And we get to be a part, one little part of that in Minneapolis. And I think that's a really, really cool thing. And with that said, we want everyone here to be a part of what we're doing here in Minneapolis, because what we've realized is people really want a place to just be themselves, sing, and then build that community together. And we need you guys to help us do that as well. And today, and right now, we're actually going to have one of our own, Whittier Strong, share a reading with us that he wrote himself. We will be missing Whittier very much soon, as he is going to Alaska to grad school for creative writing. And so we get this awesome opportunity before he leaves to hear one of his pieces. So give it up for Whittier.
Hello. This is a piece that I wrote last fall, and since most of you live in Minneapolis or very close, there's a lot that will be familiar to you, but hopefully that means it might resonate a little more. The title of my piece is Begging Change. In my neighborhood, you never know who you're going to come across. I live in downtown Minneapolis, in a small apartment on the top floor of a public housing high-rise on Hennepin Avenue. This stretch of the city is home to the theater district, 2 professional sports facilities, an array of posh restaurants and nightclubs, and numerous bus routes. It's always abuzz with activity, especially at night. My neighborhood has also become a hub for the homeless ever since the recession hit. They remind me that at several points in my life, I have come dangerously close to being where they are, and I owe it largely to luck that I'm not there now. Yet, in my present penury, I feel helpless to better their situation. Not long ago, I enjoyed an evening of karaoke at the Saloon, a gay bar 5 blocks from home. It was past 11 p.m. by the end of my performance, and I was ready to turn in for the night, so I headed out into the warm September evening towards home. When I hit a don't walk light at 8th Street, I noticed a man a few yards to my left. His voluminous white beard covered an army drab jacket, and he hobbled about with a crutch. He appeared to be begging change from a group of people awaiting the number 5 southbound. Once again, regretting I didn't have a 5 spot to spare, I cast my gaze homeward and crossed the street at the signal. Midway down the next block, an unnameable sensation seized me. I shuddered and let out a yelp. I looked down and discovered that an enormous insect had thumped onto my chest. Though I don't have any phobias when it comes to creepy crawlies, the sudden thud had startled me. I shook the insect off and it fell to the ground. I had never seen anything like it. It was the size and general shape of a cicada, but its wings were an opaque, mottled gray, and it possessed a large and threatening set of mandibles. I was desperate to find out what this gorgeous creature was. I glanced upward, and there before me stood a middle-aged lady. She sported a grayish blonde bob and a stylish bright red ensemble. I imagine she had just left a show at the State Theater when she heard my cry. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Oh, I'm fine," I replied. "This bug just landed on me and surprised me, that's all." I pointed to the ground where the insect sat motionless. "Have you ever seen anything like it?" "I don't believe I have," she replied. "Is it a cicada? I don't think a cicada would have jaws like that." "Oh no, that's not it. It's the wrong time of year anyway." "It is fascinating, isn't it?" Right then, the man I had observed at the bus stop sidled up to us. "What you got here?" he asked. "It's this bug," I replied. "Any chance you know what it is?" "Can't say I do," he said. "It sure is an interesting fella. Say," he met the lady's eyes, "you wouldn't happen to have some change, would you? I'm a disabled veteran, and I'm just trying to get $3 so I can get into the homeless shelter for tonight." The woman pulled herself to her full height and looked down at the gentleman. "I don't have any money for you. I'm 63 years old, and I have disabilities, and I work 2 jobs. I earn my money. I don't believe anyone gets anything in this life without earning it first." She turned around and crossed back over Hennepin. He stood momentarily stunned and then turned to me. "Hey, would you happen to have any change to help a veteran out tonight?" "I'm sorry. I believe in being generous, but in all honesty, I don't have any money." I fumbled for the right words to close the encounter. "I hope you have a good night, sir, and good luck." "I appreciate it. Thank you kindly." He wandered off into the night to continue his futile search for a place to lay his head. She walked along the other side of the street to locate her luxury car. I made my way to my dingy, underfunded government high-rise. The bug flew up, 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 until we became 3 indistinguishable dots.
Thank you, Whittier. I really appreciate your reading today. Next, we will be inviting Jen Knight up to speak. And she joined our group early on looking for a community. And when we found out that she was a naturalist and passionate about sharing her wealth of knowledge, we invited her to speak. So thank you for sharing with us tonight.
As Matt said, my name is Jen, and I have been employed as a naturalist for the past several years. And that just means I work at nature centers as an environmental educator. So I work with kids in preschool, all the way up through high schoolers, adult programs, mostly kids. But today, I'd like to talk to you about the science of play. And just that phrase is kind of a tricky question, because science has had a really difficult time with this whole concept of play. And that has a lot to do with the fact that science is very much about definitions. And play, it turns out, is particularly difficult to define, at least to find the right words that really encompass the whole spectrum of behaviors and motivations and species that engage in these activities. It's one of those things that seems like it should be common sense. You definitely know it when you see it. Anyone who has kids or pets or has even been to the park knows those dogs aren't fighting, they're playing, or those kids are not wandering off into oblivion. They're obviously deep in some fantasy world. It's something that you know when you see. But this problem with definition for science, you can't just say that. You know, when things are playing and they're just kind of having a good time, that doesn't actually work in papers so much. So the actual definition, or at least one of them, is any behavior without any apparent adaptive function, which in plainer English is purposeless activities. So now just that definition is a problem because science, nature in particular, does not like the idea of actions without a purpose. Play is a high energy activity more often than not, which means it's a cost. It's time that you are not eating or sleeping or looking for food. So nature doesn't like to pay costs without benefits. So logic follows that there must be some benefit to these activities, which means they're not purposeless. So there again is the problem of scientific definitions. So there were a lot of theories, hypotheses, as to what this purpose might be. And to you and I, that seems pretty obvious. Oh, well, those animals are play fighting because they're preparing themselves to learn to hunt or to defend their territory. Or those deer are frolicking and capering around, and that's helping them learn how to escape predators, say, or maybe impress a mate somewhere down the line. So that was a good starting point, and there was a lot of research that compared activities in any species you can imagine. And it turns out there's little to no evidence that shows time spent playing as a juvenile actually contributes to better performance as an adult. The individual little baby animals that were the most playful, not necessarily the best hunters, not necessarily the best at getting away. There is absolutely no correlation between playing and adult skills. So that kind of threw that theory out the window, and it sounded really good. It seemed intuitive. So what else are animals doing when they're playing? They're not practicing, they're forming relationships, right? So there is this social bonding theory that animals, particularly those that live in communities, the more they interact and play as juveniles, creating maybe some positive connection there, the less likely they will be to be aggressive towards one another or competitive as adults. And in these social communities, that kind of cooperation is really important to the whole group. So, okay, we can roll with that. More studies, looking more at social animals that live in big groups. Another dud. Turns out the amount of time two individuals spent playing had no predictive quality. It didn't say anything about how much time they would spend as adults, whether or not they would be aggressive towards one another. There's just no link. Nothing really followed anyway. So back to the drawing board. We've put in a lot of time over the years. Hundreds, thousands of papers have been written on the subject. We get a lot of negative results, but that doesn't mean we don't know anything. We do know that these purposeless activities are more common in animals with bigger brains. So things like mammals and birds, more higher order, more complex animals. But there are researchers that say they have observed these behaviors in fish and reptiles and even insects. I need to do more research myself because I'm really interested to see how they measured play in insects. But always more time for the black hole of the internet. What they did learn, besides knowing that this tends to be a bigger brain, higher order thing, is that it did have benefits. Not the ones we thought. But it turns out the more playful animals had greater survivorship, which just means they had better odds of making it from that juvenile stage to adulthood, which is a big deal in the animal kingdom. Anything that contributes to survivorship, that's something that especially developmental biologists or geneticists, they like those traits. They can say, okay, we get that. Contributed to their breeding potential. If you're an adult, you can breed, you can pass on your genes. That makes sense in my scientific discipline. In my field, I get that. But why? If they're not better hunters, and they're not better at escaping, why are they surviving better? And there were a few things. Improved coordination. Okay, so that's an easy jump to make. But what they found most distinct, most significant, was the reduction of stress. And this ends up being true in humans too, that when animals play, they're creating these falsely stressful situations. When you're play fighting, your brain has those same chemical reactions that tell you you're under attack. This is scary. But it's really not. And because it's not really, your brain gets over it faster. The brain is extremely moldable, especially in the young. So this play, it turns out, is exposing their brains to stress chemicals and then getting over it quickly. So individuals that played more ended up to be more calm. They kept their cool better as adults. And that's not so much of a jump to see why that would be important if you had to hunt for your food or you had to run from things that were hunting you. Calm, cool, composure means maybe you're making better decisions. So that was it. The kind of the holy grail. It's still relatively undefined, but at least it's measurable with numbers. Science likes those too. Another number that they found they could correlate to play was brain growth. So this they learned from the humble lab rat, that, and they turn out to be one of the better models for human development. Make whatever inferences you want there. So rats that were given things to play with, wheels, objects to investigate, had all this stimulus. Their brains actually grew at a faster rate than rats that had plain cages. So then it was like, well, is it play or is it just stimulus? Using the brain. So they did another experiment where they gave some rats some fun things to play with, free rein, and then the other rats had stimulation, but they didn't choose it. They were put through mazes, they were given puzzles to solve. Their brains were active and engaged, but it wasn't their own initiative. They weren't just spontaneously engaging in these activities. And their brains did not grow as fast. The ones that had the free will to choose to play or to choose to investigate, their brains still grew significantly faster. And they were able to learn faster. So it seems that, yes, it's not just mental stimulation, it's actually play. So that added to the definition of play. It's not just purposeless, but it has to come from the individual, or it just doesn't count to get some of those same benefits. And it turns out that all of these things are also true in humans. So the most significant gains in play come from, they're organically derived, it's spontaneous, it comes from the individual, and it's best unstructured. So it's this idea that not all play is created equally. We know that play is important for kids, all kinds. Their emotional, social, even physical skills all develop through play. And they ran those same experiments on kids. They gave some just free run in a room with toys, and the other ones were given specific puzzles to engage with. And they found more results from the kids who had free play than the kids who had this structured, set environment. And it's not that there's no place for things like sports and board games that come with this construct of rules. You learn sportsmanship and you're setting the foundation for the appreciation of the social contract, where we have to have some rules because Monopoly is just not fun if there's no rules and you can take whatever you want. So it's laying, they lay some of that groundwork and that's important. But the idea of free play, where they're creating these novel situations, these novel stressors, and then coming up with new ways to solve those problems. So actually creating false problems and creating solutions to those problems is kind of the root of fantasy play. And that engagement showed the greatest leaps in creativity, in critical thinking, and self-esteem, which I think we can all agree are important even if we can't measure them with numbers. So now here comes my bias as a naturalist, as an outdoor educator. When I say all play is not created equally, it's not just down to free and structured play. Outdoor play has its own unique benefits. It tends to be more physical, there's more running around, manipulating objects, so that itself combats a lot of physical problems, obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, in grown-ups too. But there are other measurable effects that we can't fully explain, but are nonetheless significant. Things like improving concentration and creativity and those critical thinking. They find more gains when the play happened outside. And we're still not 100% sure why, we just know that it's improvement. Children with ADHD, they did a study where they were better able to concentrate on their homework after they played outside, more so than when they played inside. More questions are raised by the results of that study than anything, but that's usually the sign of a good experiment. If it, raises more questions than it answers. And it doesn't just have to be play, and it doesn't just have to be kids. The benefits of outdoor recreation are across the board. Research shows it doesn't matter how old you are, your race, ethnicity, gender, socioeconomic background. None of those variables play into these effects. People who have access to outdoor recreation areas have lower health costs, there's lower crime in those areas, there is lower juvenile delinquency. These people also report a better sense of wellness or quality of life. Again, not so much measurable, but everybody says they feel better. And it's not just the physical activity, because we know exercising releases those endorphins and all that good stuff. But they've done studies where activity outdoors has more health benefits than the same amount of activity in an air-conditioned setting. And some of this is because your body is reacting to change in temperature, so it has to work a little bit harder to adjust for the heat or the cold. But even the passive viewing of nature, and apparently this includes houseplants, can reduce stress, can increase concentration, reduces or can combat depression. All of these things just from looking outside. So, what is my role in all this? I'm not a psychologist. I'm not an animal behaviorist. I am a lowly naturalist. I was explaining to someone early on, we are necessarily dilettantes. We know a little bit about everything, but don't have any real specialty. But just as someone who works with kids and works with them outside, I can tell you completely non-scientifically, absolutely anecdotally, that I have witnessed some of this, some of these results. That being outside hours a day changes a kid. When we get them for their week of day camp, they are a different person at the end of the week. And it has to be sustained, I think. It's not, oh, my kid went to day camp for a week and now I think each day is done. But the changes happen, and we witness that brain plasticity, that moldableness all the time. So, if you don't want to take it from the scientists and you want to take it from a more anecdotal perspective, you've got that. And I just like to reinforce that idea that you don't need to be a scientist or have any kind of degree to make these observations and to wonder and to think, because everybody can do that. And like play, it also stretches and exercises your brain. So, now that you have all these new questions to ask, I hope that you seek me out at the end here, because I learned a lot just researching some of this stuff, and now I'm really eager to talk about it and again come up with more questions to ask and more hours to spend on Wikipedia. So with that, thank you. I hope I've left you with something to think about, and I hope you spend at least part of this day outside, if not playing, at least staring at some plants. So, with that, I will leave you.
Thank you, Jen. And now for a little play of our own in the jungle.
Jungle.
feel best is a time during the Sunday Assembly program in which we have someone, one of our members usually, get up and just talk about a time in which they did their best and they learned something from that process. So today we have David Norris. Thanks, David.
On. I'm a writer, so I wrote this out. The phrase "doing my best" always causes my inner Protestant to recoil a little bit. As the eldest of 3 children in an evangelical fundamentalist Christian household, I was held to a slightly higher standard than my 2 younger sisters. So that may be why I've always had a fairly loud inner critic, which to me sounds like 1/3 voice of my father, 1/3 Christopher Hitchens, and for some reason 1/3 Julie Andrews. Explain that. In my mid-20s, several things started coming into focus, psychologically speaking. At the top of that list was the truth about my sexuality. While I'd always known something was up, there was one particular day around age 15 that I swear was almost straight out of a Monty Python film. The clouds part, the angels descend, and God looms into view. And it was just like the voice of Graham Chapman boomed, irony, "You're gay!" And I thought, oh, that makes sense. And then, oh crap. Because as the only son of evangelical, Republican, fundamentalist Christians, let me tell you, that's a special feeling. But there was another truth about me that took longer to acknowledge, which is that I also suffer from pretty serious depression, and have for a long time without knowing what it was. There are several reasons for this, probably most important being, Christians aren't supposed to get depressed. Depression is a spiritual ailment, and so it has a spiritual solution. Bible reading, prayer, and of course, Jesus. So it was quite a shock when I learned that modern psychiatry disagreed with this diagnosis, among other things. Now there's a lot that I could say about depression, about causes and treatments, but if I could describe my experience of depression in one image, it'd be this: the Dementors. Now, as a fan of the Harry Potter books, there are a lot of things I think the film adaptations didn't get right, but the Dementors are definitely one of them. It's a perfect metaphor. First time I read The Prisoner of Azkaban, I thought, J.K. Rowling gets it. She writes, "They drain peace, hope, and happiness out of the air around them. Get too near a Dementor and every good feeling, every happy memory will be sucked out of you. You'll be left with nothing but the worst experience of your life." The biggest lesson I've had to learn about depression is that it's more than just sadness. It isn't something that you can just be cheered up from, if only. Just as schizophrenia is an illness of the senses, depression is an illness of the emotions. So friends will ask me, "Oh no, what happened?" if I mention that I'm feeling low, and the answer is maddeningly nothing. That's the crazy part about depression. Everything could be going great and it still feels like the worst day of your life. And after a while, you just stop telling people that you're depressed and pretend that nothing's wrong just to avoid the confused concern from friends and family. And you feel guilty when there are attempts to cheer you up, leave you feeling worse, because the problem isn't external, it's in your brain chemistry. The fact is, some days doing my best means getting out of bed in the morning, or managing to get chores done, or even remembering to eat because it takes so much energy just to decide what to have for lunch. Putting one foot in front of the other can feel like climbing Mount Everest, because you know that you're going to have to do this the next day, and the next day, and the next, for the rest of your life. And it seems impossible. And when you try to explain this, you feel dumb and whiny because you know rationally that there are people who have legitimate reasons to feel depressed. Overall, my life is good, but depression is more than just sadness. It's an illness of the emotions. Writer Andrew Solomon puts it, You don't think in depression that you put on a gray veil and are seeing the world through the haze of a bad mood. You think that the veil has been taken away, the veil of happiness, and that now you're seeing truly. I've often wondered why my depressive episodes have seemed to get worse in the last couple of years. Before I lost my faith 3 years ago, no matter how bad things got, there was always heaven at the end of it. More importantly, I was deeply involved in my church community. I suffered from depression, but I had friends and family to lean on for support. And when I became an atheist in 2011, I joked that I went from being a Christian to Christopher Hitchens overnight. I like to think that I've mellowed since then. When that happened, over the next few months, I lost that entire community, and I was on my own. So one goal of Sunday Assembly is the 100% celebration of life. So what to do when it's hard to even celebrate being alive? So to go back to the Harry Potter metaphor, as you know, the only way to repel Dementors is with the Patronus charm. Now, if you know the spell for the Patronus charm, say it with me, I'm totally revealing myself as the nerd that I am. Expecto Patronum. Swish. I've learned. The incantation works only if you are concentrating with all your might on a single, very happy memory. So for many of us with depression, it can seem impossible to find even one happy memory. In the midst of depression, sometimes all you can see are the worst experiences in your life. And what I've learned in the course of writing about depression is that in dark times, I need to surround myself with friends who remind me that I am loved. For example, yesterday was one of those hard to get out of bed kind of days. A friend of mine had organized a play reading at her house in the evening. She texted me around noon to ask what time I was coming. And I responded that I wasn't sure if I was going to. She wrote back, "Look, I'm struggling today too, but I know inactivity won't help. It never does. So I'm shaking you down to find out what time you're coming over tonight." Besides, no one could do a Jeremy Brett Sherlock Holmes over. So I went. And I had a really good time. It didn't cure my depression, but for a couple of hours, it was bearable. So each of us, no matter what we're struggling with, whether it's a depression or an illness or failing relationship, we really do get by with a little help from others. Turns out, doing my best can actually be pretty powerful. So that is my hope for this community that we're building here, that in doing our best, we'll get better. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Dave and I went to Northwestern College together back in our days when we were fundamentalists or Christian leaders, and we've seen each other through a lot of tough times, and you know, it was by chance we converged on this moment, because that wasn't either, but we're really glad to have you here. We're glad to have all of you here. Thanks, David. This is the time kind of in our service where we do the very rare thing that we do in America and take a little bit of time for reflection. And in our digital age especially, it can be a very scary thing because we're not used to it. But it's something that was included in kind of the Sunday Assembly rundown, and I think it's something we really want to adopt here too. But we're just going to take a couple of minutes and just have some silent reflection and consider some of the things that Whittier shared and Jen and I shared about play and the animal kingdom and how it can affect our lives, and what David shared about his experience. So let's just close your eyes if you want, keep them open if you want, but let this just be a space for you to reflect on your life and reflect on the day.
It's not going to pass around me.
thanks for doing that with us. And now we're going to have a little bit of fun. Nancy's coming to come in for a little part of the program we call Meet Your Neighbors. What do you got for us today, Nancy?
This is, all right. We are going to play a little silly game. Each table is going to be a team, and so we might need a couple people up here, and it's called Connect the Story. So one person is going to start and tell a story, something true. You know, like I got up this morning and had coffee and breakfast. Doesn't have to be anything exciting. Each story after that has to have a connection with the first story. So if my story was I got up, I had coffee, and I had breakfast, your next story has to do something with getting up, coffee, or breakfast. And we're going to add to that, we want it to either do with play or animals. So I'm going to make you think a little bit harder, and we're going to see how many stories you can zip around your table in maybe 2 minutes. All right? So if some of you want to come up, you have to say. And Matt, do you want to take the time? I get the old iPhone out. All right. So somebody be the designated starter at your table and start your story and see how many we can get around.
And go.
Let's see, yesterday we went to a friend's house and we sat on the back stoop and she had a sangria recipe that she wanted to try out. So she got this in a while, and so I had like 3 glasses and I was the half set down. And I'm not even sure if we took the that's how drunk I am.
Oh yeah. So there's always good picture, and we just interviewed ourselves running commentary.
Be loosely related.
Yeah.
We ended up having to take the dog to look at 4 years.
All right, time to stop. Oh, I'm sorry. Can we get a report and see how many stories you got in your tables? 2.5? 4, 5, 3, 7. Woo! The table up front. Awesome. That you guys talk really fast. Thank you very much. Whoops. Matt's coming up. He's fixing our sign. What? Oh, Post-it notes. All right, I'll do that. You will find Post-it notes on your table and markers. And if you notice back there, we have 3 posters that are continually falling down, but we'll keep working on it. Anyway, if you have any ideas on how to, or what it means for you to live better, help often, wonder more, please put them on the Post-it notes and pop them up there, because it's really been kind of fun watching this grow over time to see how people view that. All right, I'll give it over to Matt.
What's your name?
Well, this is kind of just our announcement time of the service, and one quick little thing. One second. Is that you will find on your tables little pink little pigs. They're very cute, and we put those out just because there are some costs involved with putting on Sunday Assembly and doing events. This space that we're meeting in now, we really want to thank the Unitarian Church that we're meeting in for giving us the space for free for now. But the normal rate for this space is $250, and there's, from their side of things, at some point they will need to charge us something. So just to know that things like that don't cost money, or aren't free, and as well as just little things like gaffer's tape and batteries and food. If we do events with food, just the cookies and refreshments, they all cost money. So we don't spend a lot of money, and we don't care a lot about the money, but we do care about coming together as a community to make this happen. So even if you have $1, 50 cents, $5, throw it in the pig if you can do that. If you can't, that's more than fine. We're glad you're here. So I want to start with an announcement as we get going. This is September 22nd, 28th. September 28th is the big grand launch of Sunday Assemblies around the world. And so we're really going to start gearing up for that soon. And so as part of that, I have it in my calendar here. Let me double check. On Wednesday, the 23rd at 6:30, I'm going to have whoever wants to join in be a part of the social and media and PR team. And so just send me an email or a message on Meetup, or you can sign in at the big sign that's fallen off the wall over there. But really that group is just about getting the word out that we exist. And so getting more and more people involved, because we just feel like there's people out there that are hungry for this kind of community. And it's a great place to do that, but it takes time to message things and write those things. And we're talking about doing more media and video during the service. So all of that kind of stuff, if you're interested in participating in that, we would love to have you as part of that group. We also have a hospitality team, and Nancy, you want to talk about that briefly? There you go.
All right, thank you very much. As part of the hospitality team, we provide coffee, cookies, and stuff. So we have a sign up over there for people to bring yummy treats, because homemade treats are much better than store-bought treats that I would do. So kudos to anyone who's willing to bake. Also, oops, I wanted to say we have a couple events coming up. One is Saturday night. Hertzie is hosting at our house backyard movie night. Do you have a movie?
We're going to be watching the first 3 or 4 episodes of Vikings from the History Channel.
Ooh! All right, so watch on Meetup. That should get posted today. Next week, I think we're going to do Harold and Maude. So we're not high-tech in the backyard, but we're really kind of fun. Also, on July 20th, Valerie is hosting a concert at her house, and that is also on Meetup. And then on the 27th, we are having game day at Fantasy Flight in Roseville. So check Meetup, because one of the big things we really want this community to be is not just these assemblies. These are awesome, but we need to play a lot. And I just think the more we can play, the better. So let's get out and play. Also, we're looking for more speakers and other people. So we've got some sign-up sheets up there. I think that's it.
Thanks, Nancy. I also want to say, if you want to be a part of putting on the Sunday Assembly event itself, message Matthew Hertz, because he's kind of our producer, and there's a lot that goes on to kind of make this happen once a month. And so if you're interested in either audio production or video, or kind of just designing kind of an experience, talk to Matthew Hertz about the team. If you're interested, if you can sing or play an instrument, contact Erin, and she's a contact, especially if you can play the drums. So, and I guess that concludes our announcement section. So now I'm just gonna. So anybody that knows sound really well, really use the symbols. But I'm just so happy to be here a month after our first Sunday Assembly and know that we're still doing this thing. And just to be honest, like, it's a little bit scary, I think, for me and I think for some of us, because, you know, we don't know exactly what we're doing, but we're learning together and we're, like Jen mentioned, we're playing together. And I think so much in America we show up and expect things to kind of happen to us or be given to us. But if you think about the real experiences in your life that really changed your life and really changed who you are, it's because you decided to show up and play. You decided to kind of enter kind of the mess of things. I remember months ago when we were meeting together to say, hey, we should do this. And I remember that it came into my head the little game called the Hokey Pokey. You know how that goes? You kind of put your right foot in, you put your right foot out, you put the right foot in, and you shake it all about. You do the Hokey Pokey and you shake yourself around. That's what it's all about. And that feels a little uncomfortable to do. And if you guys remember, if you ever play that game and you're like, I remember we used to do this at roller skating rinks. I don't know if you guys remember that. But you're around a bunch of people and you feel a little awkward and you're afraid you're going to fall off your skates. But if you engage in the Hokey Pokey, when you're done, you might have made some friends and you had a really good time. And you realize that we're all human. We're all a little awkward. We've all got our own issues. We all got our own strengths. And that's what this place is really. We just want to encourage people to get together and bump heads and play around with each other and learn about each other and grow together. And if someone's fallen or hurt, to be there for each other. And today we've heard about an experience Whittier had taking public transportation and running into, having bugs drop on him. And, we listened to what Jen had to share about animals playing and how scientifically this amazing thing happens when we play. Our brains grow. And when we get outside and we interact with each other, our brains grow. And it's like a scientific thing to have fun. And I was looking over at our signs earlier and how to live better and wonder more. And a lot of them included things like play, like golfing and running and playing games and dancing. And it's like, so somehow intuitively we know we need this opportunity to play with each other. But sometimes we're really afraid to do it. Unless someone's given us a set of rules, we're afraid to go and interact with people. And I guess I just want to invite you guys to come and play with us and play with the Sunday Assembly and MSP, and invite your friends to come play with us. And to know that we don't have all the answers, and we want input from you guys, and we want you guys to get involved. So if you see a hole, if you see something that's missing, jump up in there and come play with us. So I guess that's what I have to say about that. Just encourage you to keep living better, helping often, and wondering more. We've got one more closing song, and then we're going to have cookies and refreshments. Please stay around and mingle and get to know everyone a little bit more.
Let's all stand up one more time.
I'm here now.
Some of the vocals out.
Be quiet. Quiet now. Tell me what are we living for? Say we chuck inhibitions. Sell our souls to rock and roll. And if you know what I'm missing, turn it up upstairs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I kind of really slapped.